Hi folks, I'm Haven Klassen. I'm someone with Celtic, Anglo-Saxon, Scandinavian, and Sami ancestry who has the privilege of living on land that has been traditionally cared for and protected by First Nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Wendat, and the Anishinaabe. Under the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and allied nations agreed to care for and share resources in this Great Lakes region. Many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples continue to live on this land. This is the second video in a series called Heart's Eye, where I share songs and reflections. This is probably one of the most difficult topics and one I'll likely return to as I continue to process it. It may contain triggers for some of you, so proceed with caution. It's also complex and delicate. Some of you may be offended or provoked, but I also feel it's important enough that I'm taking the risk and opening the conversation. It is concerning a way in which certain religious teachings can re-traumatize the vulnerable. I will start by sharing a song, and then I will offer a brief reflection on what inspired me to write it. The song is called The Boat.
It's your ticket to forever. It's the home plate. It's your tether. Hi, 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 ho. A-dee-ba, dee-ba. Hi, hi, ho. A-dee-ba, dee-ba. With my eyes closed, show me somehow that I'm okay. Let me know I won't be cast away. Hi, 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 ho. A-dee-ba, dee-ba. Hi, hi, ho. A-dee-ba, dee-ba.
In landlocked Alberta, where I grew up, the lakes were my oceans, full of unfathomable mysteries. In one of the lakes, there was even a local legend about some kind of lake monster everyone called Big Jake. And after accidentally watching a few minutes of the movie Jaws, I never even felt completely safe in the bathtub. I was that kind of kid, afraid of everything. At night, I would imagine my bed was a boat and convinced myself that if I didn't stay perfectly still with the covers over my head, a shark would emerge from the bedroom floor and devour me. Even as an adult, I had strange dreams about big fish, sharks, and whales. The boat in this song is a kind of life raft, I guess. The belief system I rested on when I was so small that I didn't even have words for all of them. That's why I used some made-up words in the song. I owe a lot to the faith of my childhood. My parents were both recent converts and in many ways proved that people can change for the better. Their own childhoods were full of violence, abuse, and neglect. The new boat they found in the little church in town helped them find hope, freedom from addiction, and a strong community of support. When I was tiny, they taught me to pray, and I saw how my prayers were answered. Stories of miracles were served with slices of homemade bread and honey. I was taught wonder and gratitude and the stories that inspired centuries of art and song. One of those stories was Noah's Ark. In it, one family and two of every animal or so escaped while the rest of humanity faced death by drowning. But this was relatively benign compared to the eternal torment in hellfire that I was taught awaited unrepentant sinners and non-believers. I was a fervent believer, but I was also, in my mind, a sinner because I had experienced sexual abuse when I was 3 and never told anyone about it. When I was 4, I prayed the sinner's prayer, asking Jesus into my heart. But I guess I never really felt forgiven because of the secret that I never knew wasn't my fault. And I was still afraid, so afraid. At night, I would call out in fear, and my parents would call back, "Don't worry, just pray." But when I closed my eyes to pray, I saw scary images, snakes and insects and things that frightened me. So I became convinced that in some sense I was already possessed by evil. Fear is still a part of who I am. It's programmed into my nervous system. And the boat of my belief system couldn't protect me from the deep waters of fear and despair. Furthermore, my being such a good girl, so obedient, so compliant, so repentant, and ready to accept blame, painted a target on my back and led to further re-traumatization, manipulation, and coercion. In many ways, while I was loved and nurtured in my infancy, I also believe in a way I was set up, like the baby in the treetop in the nursery rhyme, waiting for the bough to break and the cradle to fall. Ultimately, I found that off the raft or even in the belly of the whale, yes, another Bible story. I was not alone, unloved, or unprotected. This story isn't the end or even the essence of my spiritual journey. I found that in some important ways, I was still cared for through all of it. And I still experience that caring other as someone, an essential loved one for whom I use the pronoun they, partly because of my experience of the divine as both feminine and masculine, and partly because of teachings about this someone's 3-in-1 or Trinitarian nature. But I think I'm going to leave the baby in the bathwater for now and maybe do some more splashing around in another video later on. Thank you for watching and listening. I welcome your comments and feedback, and if you like what you've seen or heard, please subscribe to my video or to my channel, because there will be more. Thank you.